Let's get into the next one. Always a fun matchup or fun game to talk about between two military academies. We have Air Force on the road taking on Navy, and Air Force favored by 10.5 currently with a total of, wow, 35.5. It's definitely coming down. No surprise, though, because um, Naval Academy, or sorry, two Service Academy teams, the under over the last 52 games has been 42-10. So
Mm.
that's remarkable to say the least. And I think we all know why at this point, or most people do. It's just because these two teams are two service academies, the way they run the option attack and the traditional, um, counter plays and running the ball 95% of the time. It's basically carbon copies of the two teams going up against each other. So it makes it easier to stop. And, at the same time, though, that's a crazy number. I mean, that's a trend that is really fascinating because you think at some point the market would just start to adjust and you would see more games going over the total between two service academies, but it just hasn't been the case. Before I toss it to you, Avetta, I will say this: Zac Larrier, the quarterback for Air Force, is out. They are going with, I think he's either junior or senior, Jensen Jones. He's been with the program for a while, but he doesn't have a lot of experience. To be honest, when I first saw a picture of him, he reminded me of like Tim Tebow, his frame, pretty big dude. I'm not comparing him to Tim Tebow, guys. Relax. I'm just saying he had the build. And I think someone was saying that, or I think I read this. Larry has only thrown the ball like a few times, but he's the only quarterback like on the team who has thrown the ball, which is just crazy in 2023 to think about that. Just how many teams run spread attacks and things like that. But do you have any opinion in this one?
Yeah. I was looking at the comment, the Iowa versus Service Academy. Is that a
Oh
sub
man,
30
if
total?
it would be
Yes,
probably
yes,
close to it.
that would be.
Mix in
Well,
some wind. Oh yeah.
so here's the thing, right? So kind of to piggyback off of that comment, um, Air Force has but okay, with the I didn't know about the quarterback situation admittedly. But Air Force, man, they've had this their offense has been dominating. They've been scoring an average of 37 points per game, which is 17th in the nation, which is wild for a service academy. And they are ranked for the first time since 2010, which is also pretty surprising. So they deserve all the hype. They've been playing really well. Um, However, it is tough to lay that double digit chalk with Air Force because it's still a rivalry game, still a service academy game. The home team has won 9 out of the last 10 meetings between Air Force and Navy. And the last, I believe, 6 out of 7 have been decided by 7 points. So, in addition to that, with all that said, we do have a weather play on the under here in this game. So, this is one of the games. So, we're looking at Marshall, Navy, Yukon.
Mhm.
So, once you factor in all those ingredients, um, I'd have to lean obviously the under because we already took that, but I would have to lean Navy here plus the points. Because again, home game, rivalry game. I think the line might be a tad inflated just due to Air Force's recent success. And now that you mentioned the quarterback is out, that makes me feel even better about that Navy plus 10.5 or whatever it is right now. Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm trying to like wrap my head around this because this is just so unique with
Mhm.
like a quarterback being out, but it's Air Force. So off the top they're not going to pass the ball much. But at the same time, I think like a casual fan or just like even off the surface, like when I was thinking about this, I'm like, oh, well, the quarterback's, how much does he really have to do with the offense? They're not passing the ball. But I think that's the wrong way to look at it because in an option attack, you have so many different ways that you can run the ball. Like on a given play, you can hand it off to the dive back. On these triple options, you can keep it. I know there's a lot of audibles too at the line. Like they will see what the defense is in with their front and if they're skewed left or right, and they'll audible depending on just the defensive formation. So there's like a lot of that goes into it just before you even talk about like the actual play, like physical play of the actual quarterback in this case. So it's really hard because that guy's been around the program a lot. So part of me wants to say like, oh, there's not going to be any drop off, but then the other part of me is like, well, he has not played a lot, so it makes it challenging. Um, this implied team total or the implied final score of this game is 23.5 to 11.5. So if Navy puts up 2 touchdowns, they probably have a pretty good chance at covering this. And I know 2 touchdowns, you're like, well, that should be easy, right? Throughout the game.
Mm.
But Air Force has a pretty good defense. And then with these option teams, like the clock just runs so quickly. I mean, you go outside, get the mail, you come back in, it's like already like halfway through the second quarter. So I don't know. This one's really tough. I'm definitely leaning under, but I, I don't know. It's one that I wish I was more confident on. And like looking at that opener of what was it? What did I say? It was like 36 and a half, I believe. Or sorry, 39 and a half. That number would have been great. But the thing is with those circa openers, I mean, they're on the board for like maybe a minute sometimes. So it's not like it was sitting there for like even a few hours. Like, you know, I'm referencing these openers just to get an idea of like how it's moved. I guess when it comes down to it, Veta, I'll probably lean with the under, and I want to get down with Air Force, but I just can't do it because there's just too much speculation about like what if this quarterback actually struggles a little bit.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. It'll be interesting to see how it plays out. Because how long is he out for? Do we know?
I'm not sure. That's a good question. Not positive on that, but we'll see. But hey, this guy could come in and maybe he just does well and the offense doesn't lose a step. I mean, that's totally possible. So interesting little angle there with what pick six was saying just with this spread in total. But man, I don't know. I'm gonna be watching this one. I just don't know if I can get anything with that. And also like with the weather,
Mm.
these teams are gonna be running the ball so much. So it begs the question like how much does the wind actually affect it? I mean, with field goals, of course it would be, but yeah, it's a tricky game. It definitely is tricky, but I believe that most people are going to be on the under just because of this trend. But at the same time, I think they have been throughout the years, and it's still hitting. So go figure.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
Pick six also was talking about the team total under. Yeah, I would have to go look, but I'm guessing it's going to be 23 and a half. If it's 24, I would probably play an under, but yeah, but at
Yeah.
the same time, Air Force is Air Force is freaking good. So